Hi, Rachel. It looks here as though the painted color wheel is fairly good. However, I can't see it clearly because this photo is not as good as it ought to be. In fact, this work was to be scanned, and if you must make a photo, make sure that it looks like a scan. The image needs to be square with the lens. Um, the image needs to be centered. There should not be light and shadow falling over your work. So here, from what I can tell, the violets look too dark. To solve that, add a tiny touch of white. Is the interval between yellow and its neighbors too great? Um, Maybe the same is true with red, violet, and red. Now, with regard to your digital color wheel, it looks to me like you were in CMYK color rather than RGB. Take a look at the announcement called something like Computers and Image Preparation. Look to the bottom there, and I point out how you can ensure that you're in RGB mode. That's where you want to be. Now, also, with regard to the half circles, I would just make one half circle and copy and paste it as many times as you need, and then color it so that the half circles are all the same in proportion. Hi, Courtney. This is a neat presentation with your painting color wheel. The colors look vibrant and the interval looks good. One little thing is that maybe your violets appear grayed out, and violet is a notoriously difficult color. It appears you may have used a tiny touch of white, and that's what you need, the tiniest touch of white to reveal hues that include ultramarine in the recipe. Well, one suggestion is, should you want to work with violets in paint sometime in future, to seek a better quality of paint, artist grade paint versus student grade paint. That can make a difference. The student grade paint often has filler. Now, with your digital color wheel, your RGB values for the primaries and secondaries appear to be right on. I noticed that you have changed this design since an earlier version, and I commend you for sticking to your project and working to better it. One small suggestion I have is, I noticed that you've got, let's see, what is it, a hexagon here in center, but all the other shapes are square or rectangular. Is there an opportunity to repeat the hexagon somewhere? LA, your painted color wheel looks quite good. Let's see, there are probably a few little areas where the interval could be adjusted. Blue-green, for instance, looks like it might make a better green. And is there a big jump from red-violet to red? I like your blue-violet. Your blue-violet is telling me you have the right colors to mix violet with. I'm not sure what's up with the violet itself. Perhaps it needs a tiny touch of white, or maybe your brush wasn't clean. This is a nice, fun design for the digital color wheel. I like the theme that you've used, and your RGB values look good. All colors are fully saturated. Hi, Ben. Caitlin and Bob also made a color wheel not exactly according to directions given, and I would advise you guys to follow directions. These were pretty cut and dry. Your class is actually atypical generally. Everybody is following instructions using the template, making a scan, and so on. So taking a look at your color here, could there be more interval from red to yellow-orange? Maybe less interval between yellow and yellow-orange and yellow-green. Um, so now, with regard to your digital color wheel, I can see how the concepts, your RGB values look good for the primaries and secondaries, and the colors are fully saturated. This assignment was also about getting acquainted with the guides, grid, and snapping, and I don't see evidence of your use of those here. Further, I'd like to suggest if you creatively copy, cut, and paste the same shape twice, you can manage a total domino effect. In other words, in most cases with these shapes, one end is tucked under the shape on one side and it sits over the shape on the other side. So with the last shape, there may be a problem as to how to accomplish that. By cutting a second identical shape and stacking it as you need, you can manage the look of a row of dominoes. Hi, Justin. This is a neat presentation with your painted color wheel, and the colors all look pretty good. maybe there could be more interval with violets, and it might be that yellow-green could show more influence of yellow, and to remedy that, I'm saying start with your yellow. Now, with the digital color wheel, I can see you've got the idea here. Yellow and blue are complements on the digital wheel, for example. I'm not getting the best RGB values for colors like cyan, for example. And I wanted to talk to you about creation of this design. I really do like the warped fleur-de-lis. While you're using a stock shape, you've changed it considerably and you've made a really nice design out of it. I think that you should start this sort of thing in Illustrator. Thereby you'll have a vector shape and there'll be less difficulty with resolution. Your shapes will be cleaner. And then with regard to background, it is an interesting one, but it doesn't seem to have a good relation or a purposeful contrast with what you've got in the foreground here. Hi Cody, the interval with your painted color wheel is quite good, and the colors move from one to another very evenly. If there's any tiny criticism, it might be that your blue-violet looks a bit dark, so maybe that could benefit from a tiny touch of white. But nice presentation overall. And with this digital color wheel, things look good. I believe I have reviewed the very same version elsewhere in drafts. Well, hi Caitlin. You know, there's a certain improvisational quality to the layout of your painted color wheel that I like in an artistic sense. However, this particular assignment is very specific and it's quite cut and dry too. So in cases like what you've got here and what Bob's got, it would be better to follow the instructions and fit the color swatches to the template. Also, I think you said you were going to try to send me a better photo of this so that I can see the colors, and that will be much appreciated. Now, with the digital color wheel, your RGB values appear to be right on. This reminds me of a shooting range a bit here. One little thing I'm noticing is that the intermediates between green and yellow are closer to green and further from yellow, and that's probably a matter of arranging things on the grid with a little more care. Hi Eric, this painted color wheel looks quite good. Nice presentation. It might be that the colors are looking a bit washed out. Perhaps you used an adjustment, such as a brightness adjustment, where it might be the fault of your scanner. I do show how you can do a global balancing of the color in the discussion if you take a look at my post there. I can tell looking at this, however, that your blue-green needs a little more blue in it, and maybe the interval between red, violet, and red could be less. Now, about your digital color wheel, well, actually, I would like you to redo this. If you've got the file, it shouldn't be too difficult. Directly across from red, we should have cyan. This assignment is about the different layout of the digital color wheel. Also, opposite blue should be yellow, and so on. All colors should be fully saturated, and the primaries and secondaries should utilize the RGB values that you were given. Hi Bob, as I was saying this a bit ago, I can appreciate an improvisational take on the color wheel. However, this design assignment was very cut and dry, and in such cases, please simply follow the instructions. So looking here, the first thing that jumps out is your blue. Looks like straight ultramarine. I would mix ultramarine and cerulean together to get your best blue. Could there be less interval between yellow and yellow-orange? And do you have the right red for making violet? Is there enough blue in blue-green? Looking to your digital color wheel, this needs to be revised before it can be graded. Opposite yellow should be blue, opposite red should be cyan. The digital color wheel is distinct and different from the painted one. I'd say the center area could stay the same, but the outside area needs to be adjusted. You might want to work more closely with the grid, also for placement of squares, and be sure you're in RGB color, not CMYK.